Bravo, Martha, bravo.
And following Joe's words, happy Easter, everybody. It is Passover as well, so happy Passover. This is Earth Month, and this coming Friday is Earth Day, and I'm kind of in the camp that says every day should be Earth Day. It's not just do that one day a year. But I'd like to share with you a little bit of a verse from Walt Whitman to open our service today. I swear the earth shall surely be complete to him or her who shall be complete. The earth remains jagged and broken only to him or her who remains jagged and broken. I swear there is no greatness or power that does not emulate those of the earth. There can be no theory of any account unless it corroborate the theory of the earth. No politics, song, religion, behavior, or whatnot is of account unless it compare with the amplitude of the earth, unless it face the exactness, vitality, impartiality, rectitude of the earth. And now if you'll get your chalice or your candle or your little electronic candle or whatever you've got handy, Join me in the words of our chalice lighting. We light our flaming chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In the search for truth, may we be just. And in the search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. And now we come to that time in our service where we get to take a little bit of a break from the cares of the world and our daily lives and just spend a few moments in meditation and reflection. So I invite you to rest and be comfortable where you are. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. Take a couple of long, slow, deep breaths. And just rest in that still place within. And into that space, I offer these words to you from John O'Donohue. To learn from animal being. Nearer to the earth's heart, deeper within its silence. Animals know this world in a way we never will. We who are ever distanced and distracted by the parade of bright windows, thought opens. Their seamless presence is not fractured thus. Stranded between time gone and time emerging, we manage seldom to be where we are, whereas they are always looking out from the here and now. May we learn to return and rest in the beauty of animal being. Learn to lean low, leave our locked minds, and with freed senses, feel the earth breathing with us. May we enter into lightness of spirit and slip frequently into the feel of the wild. Let the clear silence of our animal being cleanse our hearts of corrosive words. May we learn to walk upon the earth with all their confidence and clear-eyed stillness, so that our minds might be baptized in the name of the wind and the light and the rain. May we carry that with us throughout the day and the week and the year. Well, the latest IPCC report came out a few weeks ago. And like all their reports in recent years, well, the news ain't good again. Time's quickly running out for us to mitigate the impacts of our CO2 emissions. Time's quickly running out to preserve a climate that's generous to humans and other living species. Most people don't seem to realize that the real danger isn't just that things are warming up. We can all wear flip-flops and t-shirts, but the impending collapse of the ecosystems we depend on, which is not just caused by rapid warming that doesn't give most creatures or even us time to adapt, but overuse of resources, and externalizing costs onto the environment. Some are optimistic we can reverse this, others not so much. But either way, we're now left with little choice but to adapt to the uncontrollable and unpredictable changes coming our way. And sometimes it feels as if the climate crisis, feels to me as if the climate crisis is like Elmer Fudd blasting away with his shotgun at me, and all I can do is duck and cover. And adapting to external circumstances, to change, is not always easy. And so I ask, are there ways to make it easier, and where might we look? Might I suggest Bugs Bunny? Bugs and his relatives in both the physical world and the imaginary worlds have taught us many, many lessons over the years. I think some of those lessons will be useful in the times ahead. We might even think of Bugs Bunny as a role model. Now, I'm just old enough to remember the original Bugs Bunny. That Bugs Bunny was less polished, ruder. He had a laugh like a manic Woody Woodpecker. He was more of a smart aleck, not afraid to offend. And he had a bit of a mean streak. But like many of the original cartoon characters we know and love, Bugs got sanitized over the years to become more acceptable to a wider audience, more lovable, less edgy, but still possessed of a quick wit and an unflappable demeanor, still naughty, yet brave in the face of danger. Bugs is a master of context shifting, of breaking the assumed logic of a situation. His is the ability to constantly flip the script on his unwitting counterparts. One moment he's a rabbit being hunted, and the next he's a game warden taking Elmer's gun away. Or maybe he's an opera singer pulling his antagonist into a completely new world where things play out in a different way. No situation is fixed or immutable. Escape is always a creative bunny leap away. So what underlying assumptions about our world and the way it works can we subvert in creative ways? What scripts can we flip? What game can we refuse to play? These are questions we all need to be asking ourselves. I don't necessarily have answers to them, because that creativity needs to lie with each and every one of us. Now, Bug's sense of self and his place in the world is not dependent on his identity as a hare or a rabbit. For Bugs, changing perspective seems to be as easy as putting on a different hat or a new costume. And Bugs seem to have an endless supply of them just pulled out of thin air. So how many identities might you have? What new ones could you take on? How fast can you change it? Can we change it? Because like bugs, we're not limited to being any particular self or person. The Buddha and many others taught us that the self is an illusion. To tie the self to an identity is to voluntarily lock yourself in kind of a mental prison cell. And if you allow others to lock you into an identity or role, the same thing applies, except they have the key. So again, questions. Who holds the key or keys to your world, to our world? Is it you or is it someone else? Bugs Bunny is a modern child of the trickster rabbits and hares in myth and folklore. There's Jitsu from Native America who brings fire to the people. There's Brer Rabbit of the trickster rabbit stories brought to America by African slaves. There's Lepus, the hare from Greek mythology, who tormented the hunter Orion in much the same way that Bugs torments Elmer Fudd. Both rabbits and hares are associated with the moon, and in ancient traditions, hares and rabbits belong to the realm of women, of the feminine. They're powerful avatars associated with mystery and magic, with the lunar cycle, with fertility, longevity, and rebirth. They're believed to be messengers from the realm of the great goddess, moving by moonlight between the human world and the spirit world. She, he is also androgynous, sometimes appearing in a male form. And that male form appears most often as a trickster figure, kind of like Bugs Bunny, who's also a cross-dresser and a gender bender. Bugs is referred to as both hare and rabbit, so he's kind of a species bender as well. But I personally think he's mostly hare most of the time. So again, we're back to this fluidity. In this case, the ability to move between worlds with ease. To be just as much at home in the briar patch as the garden. To be just as much at home in the moonlight as the sunlight. To be just as much at home with the feminine as the masculine. To be balanced, poised on that pivot, aware, and in the moment with our eyes on the future. But what's the most important lesson that those wascally wabbits have to teach us? It's this. We are an ecologically illiterate species. Ecology is the language of the living world, a world in which humans are not special, nor exempt from its laws. Way back in 1971, Barry Commoner proposed 4 informal laws of ecology. The first law of ecology is that everything is connected and that those connections are complicated and are subject to feedback loops. These feedback loops mean that small changes can cascade to cause big changes in an ecosystem. For example, the role of rabbits and hares in many ecosystems is that of a keystone species. These are species that the ecosystem depends on. And when a keystone species gets out of control, or when a keystone species is removed, the whole system is likely to collapse. And the same thing applies when resource limits are reached or the carrying capacity of an ecosystem is exceeded. And the second law is that everything must go somewhere to be reused. In nature, there is no such thing as waste. In every natural system, what is excreted by one organism as waste is taken up by another as food. And we've broken that cycle. And so waste becomes pollution, and because of the first law, that usually means it ends up in the air or water or our food. And the third law is that nature knows best. As Barry Commoner puts it, the third law of ecology holds that any major man-made change in a natural system is likely to be detrimental to that system. Basically, we aren't smarter than nature, and our track record of improving on nature is pretty poor. So humility is in order. We are most emphatically not the crown of creation. And the fourth law is that there's no such thing as a free lunch. The price will always be paid for ignoring the first three laws, and the bill is due. And our current culture ignores all of these laws. The invisible hand of the free market never picks up the check at the common table. And guess who gets to pay the tab? I think we all know the answer to that one. Ecological thinking and acting need to become part of our economics and our politics and our daily lives. And we've known that for some time. And while our current predicament can seem hopeless, we need to remember that life has an amazing capacity to renew and regenerate itself. From winter comes spring, the rebirth of life from deep within the earth. After the forest fire, grass grows, flowers bloom. And this is the ancient message of Easter from long before Christ. Resurrection is the rule, not the exception. And we can aid and abet the next resurrection. Bugs Bunny shows us the way. Flip the scripts, be fluid in our roles and actions. Reclaim the archetypal powers of love and the goddesses of earth and sky. Relearn the oldest of languages. Obey the laws and pick up the check. And when in doubt, just ask yourself, what would a rascal rabbit do? Thank you.
Thank you, Munro. Thank you very much. Well, it is that time of when we would meet in person, the part of the service where we would pass the basket and receive offerings, and it's called the sharing of responsibility. And the word sharing is really important because that responsibility, whether it be financial giving, whether it be volunteering, whatever it may be, needs to be shared by all of us together who are part of the congregation of Taos. And I know that sometimes, especially in the area of getting more folks to volunteer for things, it's difficult. But that is also part of the sharing of responsibility of helping make the vision and mission of UCOT come to pass. So anything from highway cleanup to serving on the board, to being part of the planning committee, to the harvest, the fall harvest festival, helping out, that's all part of the sharing of the responsibility. And so I just want to encourage you to also look at those venues as well as the financial giving. Thank you so much for your faithfulness in all that you do, and it is so much appreciated. Now I'm going to turn it back to Munro for closing words, extinguishing the chalice, followed by the postlude and the benediction.
Thank you, Joe. So in closing, I wanted to offer a little prayer from Lunig, I'm sure how to pronounce that. He's does these wonderful little cartoons that you see on Facebook and everything with these wonderful little creatures and little sayings. And he done some prayers, and he uses the word God, and he uses it in in the sense of it being a placeholder for, I guess, the great mystery, the spirit of life, whatever you would like to put into that word. And he writes, "Dear God, we give thanks for places of simplicity and peace. Let us find such a place within ourselves. We give thanks for places of refuge and beauty. Let us find such a place within ourselves. We give thanks for places of nature's truth and freedom, of joy, inspiration, and renewal. Places where all creatures may find acceptance and belonging. Let us search for those places in the world, in ourselves, and in others. Let us restore them. Let us strengthen and protect them. And let us create them. May we mend this outer world according to the truth of our inner life. And may our souls be shaped and nourished by nature's eternal wisdom. Amen." And now let's join together in the words of extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you, Martha, so much. Your playing enriches our services in just so many ways. So I invite you now to reach out to whoever's next to you virtually in the next box over across the electrons and the wires. And let's join in the words of our benediction. May love and skill guide our hands. May love and courage fill our hearts. May love and wisdom light our minds. May love flow through us and walk among us as we live our lives and work to heal our world. Amen, amen, shalom, and blessed be. May it be so. Go in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Munro. Well, that concludes today's service. If you so desire, you can remain online to share any reactions or to comment about the sermon and even have some general chat with others.